All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our TokiTV. Today is June 30th. Can you guys believe that? We're halfway through this year. That's just wild. Thank you for being with us today for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's legacy, ongoing conversations about the Southern residents, breaching the dams, anything and everything to do with Toki and what Toki has brought so many people aware of, captivity issues, the plight of her family, and all the other orcas up in the Pacific Northwest. So thank you guys for being with us. I'm super excited for our guest today, but I want to say hi to everyone first, even though I kind of just want to get in there. So let's be brief. Tina, how are you?
So do we.
How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. We're just like, it's like so exciting because we want to hear what he has to say because, we want to get those dams down and he's going to help. Yes.
Absolutely. What Cruz, what is happening with you?
Life.
Yeah. You didn't expect more from Deb, did you guys? I know you did.
Ride that roller coaster.
Yeah, that's true. Marcia, how are you?
Good. Just getting ready for our 10,000-mile Toki trek across the country in that little camper. And, hopefully pass the message along to a lot of people we pass on our journey. So we'll talk more about that another time because I want to hear what John has to say. So everything's good.
Awesome. Stephanie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Excited to have John with us again.
Ma?
Yeah, I'm here. And how long for? Big storm overhead. Just got internet back. But great to be here. And thanks for being on again, John.
Of course.
Awesome. Howard, how's it going?
It's a nice, quiet Sunday here with TokiTV, and I'm just looking forward to hearing from John.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good, you guys. And then we also have with us a special appearance today. Heather Nicholson is with us. Heather, how are you?
I am well. Just trying to get the Southern residents to stay with us on that precarious edge. And thank you guys so much for what you do.
You too. You've been, I know, pretty instrumental in helping with the film as well, right? I think, and just all the work that you already do. Just thanks for being with us. We've had Heather on before as our special guest and just really try to keep highlighting all the good work that people are doing. Who doesn't know John Carlos Frey?
Sweet. A lot of people.
Well, just for the people that don't know, John Carlos Frey is a 6-time Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker, critically acclaimed author, focusing on hard-hitting stories that include human rights and marginalized communities. Frey's work has been featured on all major national networks such as NBC, CBS, ABC, Telemundo, Univision, PBS, the Weather Channel, CNN, as well as streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, and HBO. So again, who does not know John Carlos Frey? We're so happy to have you on with us. I want to share just a little clip of you real quick.
My philosophy as a reporter, as a journalist, is to give a voice to the voiceless and to hold those people in positions of power accountable. So I can't think of a better opportunity than to give Toki's family, who remain voiceless in the Salish Sea. They can't speak for themselves. They can't tell you and me what they need. That's our responsibility. So as a journalist, I'd like to give them a voice, and I'd like to hold those responsible for putting them on the endangered species list accountable. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I forgot to mention his other national debut on TokiTV. So, John, thanks for being with us today. It was September 10th that you were on here last, and we were trying to raise money, and we were talking about how insane it might sound to raise $500,000 for this film. And then I think it was like 3 days later, you guys got the full funding and you were getting ready to head to the Pacific Northwest. So catch us up. 9.5 months? Something like that? 9 months?
So to whoever that patron was.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone, anonymous donor of $450,000. And you've been able to get to work. Tell us what's been happening.
Yeah, I don't even know who that donor is. I've never met them. I don't know their name. I have no idea who's funding the film. There's somebody that I talk to that sort of writes me a check so that we can pay for the production. And we've spent all the money. We're done. The film is finished and it's not out. When I say it's finished, there are pieces that still need to be in place, but we are no longer editing at a fast pace. The music has been written. All of the pieces that need to be in the film have been completed. We just have to sort of finish some details and maybe get a couple of pieces right, make sure that our facts are correct, those kinds of last minute things. It's sort of like if you finish writing a book, you have to edit it and re-edit it and copy edit it and make sure that there's no mistakes or misspellings and those kinds of things. So we're sort of at that place. We're not creating anything anymore. We're just fine-tuning and making sure that it's completely finished. And I will send a copy of it to the streaming outlet that we're trying to attract on Monday, tomorrow. And we have, hi, Raynell, so good to see you.
Hey, John, good to see you. I'm so happy.
Oh, thank you. I see you on my screen almost every day.
Oh, my goodness.
In the film, and it's a joy. Hi, Heather. Nice to see you as well. Heather's one of our co-producers of the film. She helped so much with this. So she has a big Hollywood credit on the film and has been instrumental in making this happen in more ways than one. In her patience and her knowledge, her diligence, her hard work. We could not have done it without her, and I'm so grateful, Heather, that you are a part of this. So we also sent a copy of the film yesterday to meet the deadline to a very prestigious film festival called the Telluride Film Festival, which is the largest international film festival for environmental documentaries. Most environmental documentaries from around the world premiere there. So if the streaming outlet doesn't want the film, then we have plan B and then plan C and then on down the list. So we are starting that process starting yesterday. And I can't tell you right now, we don't know necessarily when it will be available to the public. We're going to have some meetings this week. If the streaming outlet wants the film, then there's a whole negotiation process. There is when they will want to air it, if they want to take the film, if they want to buy the film and broadcast it. There's a whole process involved as to when that would happen as well. So all of those details are still up in the air, but for the most part, our part is finished and the film will be out soon. And I can certainly talk about what it's about, and Heather can probably also. Heather has seen a copy or a version of the film. Have you seen the fine cut yet, Heather? Did you get a copy of that? Okay. It's changed a little bit. It's a little over 90 minutes long. I think, Heather, you saw it when it was much longer than that. And it features Toki and Raynell. Raynell and Toki are joined together in the film, and Toki speaks for the Southern residents and for their plight through Raynell and her traditions and her eloquence and her power. In addition to that, we have individuals who speak for the ridiculousness of the dams, for the crazy way that the Army Corps of Engineers tries to create salmon and hatchery fish. We have whale biologists speaking who can speak for the Southern residents, and on down the list. So those are sort of the nuts and bolts of the piece. And we've also tried to infuse as many facts about these dams. We start at day one, before the dams were even built, all the way to today, and all the efforts from politicians who say one thing and do another, and expose some of the injustice along with that as much as we can. Do you want to say anything, since you worked on it, you were an audience member as well?
You want me to chime in, John?
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, I don't want to steal the whole time.
Well, you've jumped into an issue that many people have been grappling with for decades that uses up a lot of brain power just to wrap your head around. And it's been incredible what you've been able to learn and consume and root out. I mean, it's just been astounding to see you do that. And also because you have the professional expertise to present it to a larger audience in order to captivate them and still be technically relevant. It's just a big challenge. And you must be a transformed person by now.
I'm an aged person. I am so disappointed in your representatives in the Pacific Northwest. I am disappointed in the Army Corps of Engineers. I am disappointed in individuals who deal specifically with the dams, whether they are in agriculture or recreation or some kind of PUD. Their first priority should be to save an iconic species, and it's not their first priority. Their first priority is greed. Their first priority is power, money, status quo. One of their first priorities is to save face, to not admit that they've made a mistake. I have come across that left and right, and it just shocks me that people would rather say one thing just to make themselves look good at the expense of the southern residents and salmon and other species that live, in the Snake River. So those are the kinds of things that we've tried to expose. We call them out by name and we use their own words against them. And so you will know who the culprits are and how they maneuver all the way down the list. So those are the things, at least, that we've tried to do. It's 90 minutes long, and this is a 50-year saga. So we've left a lot of stuff out because there's just no way that we could put everything in. But we've tried to pack it in as much as we could, and Heather has been so helpful with that.
It's been an exciting process, and of course, I'm not the only one. I'm just, I'm one person who tries to gather information. I mean, I'm really just after the truth, just like you are, John. It's and truth is abundant in this issue if you look for it, and the acceptance to act on the truth is not abundant. But I've just tried to be an aggregator. Howard has been working at this for a very long time. Many of you have. We all have.
Howard is featured in the film, and Raynell is featured in the film with their expertise. So we get those voices fairly well. I think that we represent Lummi tradition as well, Raynell, through your voice. And Rosie Caillou James also speaks for Orca. So we get Native American tradition and understanding that these are kin and these are family. This is a concept I think most people don't understand, that these are relations, that they're not just some whales in the sea. So they start from very early on in the film to have a voice in a way that's personal, that we can relate to as if we were relating to our own relatives. So by the time you get to see what the dams are doing to destroy the ecosystem, you're basically seeing the dams destroy brothers and sisters and family members, because you've gotten to know them that way. And that's something that we did on purpose. We wanted people to know the southern residents as if they were their own members of their own family. And Toki features heavily in that journey because it's one of the few southern residents that you all and we all got to know, obviously incarcerated, but through Raynell's story of trying to heal Toki's spirit, we all get to watch that process. So we get to know Toki in a very personal way, and she's the representative of the southern residents in the film.
John, thank you.
Wow.
I just want to say thank you. And I'm voicing the tears that I see in Deb Cruz's face and many others, because I want, before you said that, I wanted to thank you for honoring her culture and traditions, and to have her voice be heard now for her family is just huge. And I really, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for doing it in that way.
Well, I thank you. I didn't raise the money. I am the messenger. I believe that I was called by Toki and her family as well. So I didn't have much of a say here. I got pulled into this and was forced to meet people like you all. You've invaded my life for the last year, which is a blessing. So I'm honored. I am honored and grateful to know I knew very little, if nothing, about this subject. And the more that I've been indoctrinated, the less I understand the concept that there are two sides to this. You know, we present the film with a very strong bias on one side, and that's not a really good idea for a journalist to have a bias, but there isn't really another side. I don't know how you can advocate for the dams knowing what it's done to the environment and the ecosystem and to the southern residents. I don't know how you can continue to advocate for those dams. And anybody, politician all the way down, who does that is ignorant and blind to the facts. So we're at a critical time on our planet where we've got to start restoring the ecosystems, and we have to start listening to wildlife, and especially an intelligent being like the southern residents. We have to listen to them, and they're speaking loudly. So I don't understand why people in positions of power are not listening. So that is our take throughout the film, is to allow them to speak and to let us know what they need.
I watched the last episode when you were on in September, and I watched it again today, and I was laughing because we did say at the beginning, towards the beginning of the show, you said you didn't have a direct connection with her, but then we were like, all of us, you could see our heads shaking, like no, you were called, because that's just how we are. And then we kind of threatened you in a way, because I think Dr. Chris was like, don't scare him off, because we were like, you're ours forever. And that's true though, because I have been bugging you for the last 9 months and been in relation, but really you were called to this, and your specific gift. I mean, you're not just a journalist, you're not just an investigative journalist, you're passionate. It comes through when you're talking, it comes through when you're speaking. And so to have such a powerful voice, yes, someone may have donated the money, but we couldn't have a better person to speak on her behalf and to expose everything that needs to be exposed. So I will sing your praises all day, John. I'm so looking forward. I'm so looking forward to this.
And I'll send you the check for those nice words. Thank you. So
well, I don't know. In the end, at the end of the show, you were kind of calling us crazy. So, but that was.
I'm crazy. I mean, I'm afraid that I've tarnished my career. I don't think that I'll ever be able to work for a network again because of the way that this film is so slanted on one side and so against the powers that be. And that's not a negative. I've worked in national television for my entire career, and it's all bullshit. The news is bullshit, so I don't want to do that anymore. And we're misinformed. We are all misinformed, and the powers that be get to control the narrative. They get to tell us without any sort of critique on what they're saying. For example, we feature, and a lot more now, Heather, we feature Cathy McMorris-Rodgers, who gets to say all of these horrible things about wanting to bring the dams down. Anytime anybody has a hope that those dams are going to come down, she jumps on her bandwagon and makes sure that never happens and spews all of these lies. And the media publishes it. She gets a pretty big microphone and gets to say whatever she wants, and no one holds her accountable. So she is now our villain in the film. Her words, her rhetoric, her lies are exposed for what they are against the plight of the southern residents. You get to choose. Do you want the southern residents to live and to flourish, or do you want to believe what Cathy McMorris-Rodgers has to say and her and people like her? So that's usually not what a journalist gets to do, and I'm really glad that we got to just call her out. Traditionally, I would have taken Howard Garrett's side of things and then gone to her and allow her to speak her side of things. She doesn't have a side. She's lying. She's misrepresented. So she doesn't get a microphone here. She doesn't get to say things that aren't even fact-based. So that's kind of the slant that we have here.
Wow.
And I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit for it, but I don't.
Well,
really
John, you know, she could have had a microphone. She was offered a microphone.
She hid.
Yeah.
We called her many times to try and set up an appointment with her. She refused every time. So we thought, let's just go visit her at her house. So we knocked on her door on camera. It's on camera. And I knock on her door, and her husband opens the door, and she's in the house. We knew she was in the house. And she ducked into the kitchen. The second she saw me, she just jumped into the kitchen and hid. And her husband said, no, she's not going to come out. She's not going to talk to you. So we make a big deal of that. We make a big deal that she gets to drop these bombs and is not held accountable for them. The same goes for Patty Murray. We basically expose Patty Murray for all the money that she throws at the dams and the hatcheries. And everybody loves, you know, all the pork that comes to the Pacific Northwest. And that's how she stays in power. You know,
Wow.
so there's a corrupt system in place. There's a lot of money that comes your way to keep the dams in place. Even slightly, some of the tribal communities that live off of this money are also talked about in the film. So nobody's hands, I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people's hands are not clean here. The only focus that we have in the film is to make sure everybody understands that the southern residents are near extinction. And there's only one way after trying everything. After 50 years of trying everything, there's one way to make this work, and that's to restore the ecosystem where their food supply comes from.
You know, I want to provide one quote which was from, you may have heard that Rob Williams, a researcher with Oceans Initiative, released a study, his organization, on the southern residents. And there was a webinar, and this is what he said in that webinar, I think in February. This is about his analysis. This is a characteristic signature of a population that is teetering on the edge of an extinction vortex. This is a classic signature of a species that is about to go extinct. And sorry, Christina, please, I didn't mean to step ahead of you.
Not at all. Thank you for that, because it's the truth. You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's not just the orcas or the salmon. It's an entire ecosystem. It's 137 plus animals that rely on the salmon for their very existence. And it's just unbelievable that it's been going on for so long. And I just, like Annette, John, I'm so thankful and so grateful for you, you know, putting your head, your, I mean, probably life even on the line here, because I mean, everyone has known for a long time that it's corrupt, because otherwise they wouldn't still stand, right? So I just want to say thank you so much for being so brave, and I mean, seriously, it's just beyond me, because I mean, I'm just so excited to find out what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is they're going to breach the dams, because it's going to be over. It's over. The game is over.
Our hope was, you know, you've all been fighting it. If you all live in the Pacific Northwest, you've been fighting this with the groups, with the Orca task force, with NOAA trying to report properly. I mean, the battle has been going on with the Army Corps of Engineers, who knew that the dams needed to come down 25 years ago. So I think what's missing is a global effort. I think that the masses need to know. I think that the entire United States needs to know that this is a solvable problem. The orca are not going extinct, and salmon aren't going extinct because of climate change. They're going extinct because of human beings' actions that can be changed. So this can be reversed. That's our approach. It's not without some ability to solve it, and also the immediacy. If it is going to be solved, it needs to be solved now. So that's the full approach, and the vehicle that we use to do that are people who know about this. You know, we have an engineer. I don't know if you all know of Jim Waddell, who we got to interview over the course of almost a year And this is a man who dedicated the last 10 years of his life. He was an engineer who worked on the dams. He was an engineer who knew, who helped to conduct a study that those dams needed to come down. It's in an Army Corps of Engineers study that the dams no longer serve a purpose, financially or otherwise. And so he dedicated the last years of his life to making sure that the public knew that. And while we were interviewing him, he had pancreatic cancer, and he passed away during the process of making this film. So his life and his legacy are really powerful. It's not me who's doing it, it's people like him. And also in the course of raising the money and starting to put the pieces together, Toki died. So we have some powerful voices here who have dedicated their life for a higher purpose. And the film makes sure that the audience understands that these people are willing to give their last breath, that Toki was willing to give her last breath for her family. And that's the way we tell the story. So nobody's going to leave that theater with dry eyes. They're going to understand that this is a life and death situation.
I don't even have a dry eye now
Okay,
with you talking about it. I want to check in. So I think Raynell was trying to say something, and then I think Marcia wants to say something.
I just want to raise my hands, John, to you and your team for the love and respect that you paid to Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's. And she connected with you, she guided you, and your whole team that came here, and how many hours we spent together, the special time at Wichiakan. You're always in my heart, and I know she's still with you. Hi, Sk'aliCh'elh.
thank you. That means a lot to me right now. And, you know, I didn't expect.
I want to, I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. Thank you. I'll listen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's fine.
I just want to applaud you for your courage. I think when you piss people off in high places, you need to have rear view mirror on a lot. So just, I hope you're careful. I don't trust people in high places. So watch for your safety, just be careful once this comes out. Also, the fact that you're telling this through Toki's voice and that perspective is going to be so emotional, and I can feel it already. And I just thank you for doing that. I wrote a book recently and really trying to to inspire people to think of these beings in a personhood situation. They're not just animals, they're people. They're just like us. And as Raynell says, they just live under the waves. That's the only difference. Your passion about it shines really strongly. So thank you for all of it.
The interesting thing about this is it's not just Native Americans in the Salish Sea who understand the Southern residents as kin. Jim Waddell, an engineer, was moved when he first met the Southern residents. Ken Balcom dedicated his entire life to studying them. Deborah Giles talks about having a dream where she changes places with a killer whale who's in captivity when she's an 18-year-old girl. Before she even came to the Pacific Northwest, before she ever even met one of the Southern residents, she's dreaming about them. So all of these people who are scientists and engineers and people who do not have a culture that understands them as, for thousands of years, are moved by them. So, I can't deny that. I can't deny that that's not true. I'm not going to pretend that that's phony. So, we spend most of the time in the film with those kinds of stories of people who, when they meet them, are moved by them. Howard is another person who obviously was moved by what happened at Kiln Lighthouse. I mean, Howard, you were skeptical that the day of Toki's death and the superpod coming in, you didn't really want to put two and two together, but what else are you going to say?
There it was.
There it was.
Before my eyes, I know. This is all just music to me. I'm getting goosebumps every word you say. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to interrupt you, because this is just so beautiful. Everything that you're saying, this is going to be so powerful. It's going to have an emotional impact I try to look at sort of the big societal picture of changing attitudes, and even though you're confronting the headwinds, you're going right at Kathy McMorrow and Patty Murray and so many people who are such naysayers and deniers and cover-ups and all that. But there's also a lot of momentum that I'm seeing from the executive branch. I mean, from the top of the higher ups. And one evidence of that was the report that was published by Deb Haaland, who is an indigenous person from New Mexico, who is Secretary of Interior, and published a report that itemized exactly how the dams are not only killing the fish, but they have been killing the indigenous people, have been destroying the cultures, and have been violating the treaties for all these years. And yes, we've been saying that and hearing that from many others, but that gives it that official imprimatur, that recognition from the top of the government that has to be rectified, that is a extremely serious problem that has to be fixed. And that helps to lay the foundation, I think, for sometime next year, if we have the right administration, to follow through, put all the pieces together, and your film is going to be the push, is going to just take people right over the edge and leave the naysayers silent. Because how do you answer that? Once they've seen what you just described in this film, it's going to be the most powerful 90 minutes I'm ever going to spend, I'm sure. And it's going to just overwhelm, I think, the whole body politic and the whole society. And it's going to get out. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go on the streaming service or, after Telluride, Blackfish went to Sundance, and after that it was immediately picked up, and it played for about 2 years everywhere after that, and is still remembered as
and made a difference.
Made a huge difference. And I think this is destined to do the same.
That is our hope. I mean, our strategy has started from the day we started on this project a year ago. So Heather and I have along with other people who know this subject much better than I, have wanted to make sure that this fact was in, and that people understood that fact, and making sure that this percentage and all of the things that you've all been so involved with. But my focus has been that plus the emotional aspect. This is a story about survival. This is a story about an iconic species that will no longer be here very soon. How do you feel about that? That's more important to me in a 90-minute piece of cinema where people are watching and being moved and being pulled through the story. They're going to get a lot of facts. They're going to get a lot of what you all know, but they're not going to get all of that. The main focus of this is for people to feel, and for people to get pissed off, and for people to feel frustrated and maybe enraged enough to do something about it, to sign a petition, to donate to Center for Whale Research, to call their politician, those kinds of things. I think the film has a voice, but it really is about how they feel after they watch it, whether or not they're motivated to do something about it. And the entire film has been crafted for that. I have been bombarded. One of the things we have to do is to send the film out when it's almost finished to a group of people for notes, for them to tell me what they see missing and what's not working. And some people were pretty harsh because I didn't put this in and I didn't put that in, and that's okay. That's my job. I just want to make sure that anything that I do put in the back of my mind, will this motivate someone? Will this make them feel for Toki? Will this make them understand that the dams are no good for anybody? Those are the ways that I try to craft the message. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. It moves me, and I think that the people who've watched it so far. But I don't think it's just the film. I also think it's the people who get to see it. Our goal is to reach a premium streaming outlet. I'm not naming the name on purpose because they would hate to think that I've already put pressure on them to say yes. But it's one of the big ones that if it does get on their streaming service, it will be seen. I think they have a 78 million viewership reach worldwide. That's how many people pay for that service. In addition to that, as soon as those usually run for a year or two, and then it would be out for everybody. But I think that there would be a way of holding screenings as well in strategic places. A screening for Congress I've done in the past for members of Congress, so that they see it in sort of an enclosed setting with professionals and experts who get to talk to them, or they all get a copy of the film so that they can screen it to their to their people who need to see it, etc. So that plan is in place.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I was just going to ask, like, can we buy copies of this and send it to certain people, politicians, people that need to see it?
I mean, it'll be available for anybody who has the streaming service,
Awesome.
at the click of your laptop. That's how it is today. So anybody would be able to get it that way. So cross your fingers. And if anybody knows anybody at Telluride, get in touch with me, because that's usually how things get to the top, is by somebody who knows somebody, at least in Hollywood. So we're going to make sure that it gets out as far and as wide as possible.
John, we talked today and last time about pissing people off. We've talked about that a lot, and we knew this was going to. What has been your experience, not just in that? I'm hoping you've also talked to people that have been really receptive, but how difficult has this journey been in that way? You're showing up at people's houses. I'm sure they weren't thrilled about that. Talk to us about just some about the emotion that you've had to deal with so far.
Kathy McMorris Rogers obviously did not allow us to conduct an interview. Her husband is former military, and he was not happy to see me. Let me know it's not on camera, but he let me know that he felt threatened by my presence, and in a way to let me know that you're not welcome here. Patty Murray, we tried to do the very same thing, and I was told by her Secret Service detail that I was not allowed to approach her, that would be a threat to her well-being, and I could be incarcerated. I also have a crew, so if I do anything that's too crazy, they're also going to get caught up in it. So we didn't do that. The Army Corps of Engineers did not give us an interview for a very long time. We flew drones over the dams that we were not allowed to. We got great detail and close-ups of these gargantuan, ugly things that dam the river, even though we were told that we couldn't. Eventually, we put enough pressure on them that they did allow us access, because we filmed what belongs to the public anyway. So we did that. When I first started this and we were raising money, somebody left me, I wouldn't say a threatening note, but sort of a message, a voice message that basically told me that the people that I was associating with, people like Heather and NRAP and Dam Sense and people who want to get the dams to come down, that they were the wrong people to talk to. Their words that those people who wanted to remove the dams were full of shit, and that I would be better served going elsewhere. They left me a voicemail that I kept, and I wasn't going to use it in the film, but when we started getting notes back for people who know the subject better than anybody, said you need to put that in the film. So that threatening voicemail is the thing that opens the film. So I'm happy to play it for you. If I'm not sure. Okay, here it goes.
I just want you to know you're hanging out with the wrong group. They're all full of shit. They all lie. They don't know what they're talking about. and you should not be following their lead. Fuck off.
Sweet. Huh?
Wow. That came
If
through.
I didn't hear it, I mean, it's basically telling me that I'm hanging out with the wrong group and they're all full of shit. Howard, you're full of shit, and Heather, you're full of shit, and Raynell, you're full of shit because you are the people that I've been hanging out with. So that's what they were trying to tell me. I didn't listen, and but that's what's at stake with the people who want the dams to stay in place. There's hundreds of millions or billions of dollars that exchange because those dams are in place. There are people who don't want to uproot or have anything change. There are people who don't want their lies exposed, and they'll threaten the head of, who used to be the head of Northwest River Partners, Kurt Miller. I forget the organization that he's with now. Has
He's
threatened.
with the Northwest Public Power Association. He's the executive director.
He has threatened a lawsuit already for libel, because we also expose him for his lies. So we'll probably be getting sued for what we say in the film. And Heather has hooked me up with a pretty powerful attorney to sort of help us navigate that. But, if those things weren't happening, then I would think that we're not doing our job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of that.
That's really awesome. Ma, let me unmute you here. Go ahead.
Thanks. I just want to, through the tears and the sniffling, I'm sorry, I just feel Toki's presence so strongly. I can't say thank you enough, but you and Heather and everyone that's worked on the film should be so proud, because you're doing the right thing. You've done the right thing, and that's what you've got to keep in your heads, that when all this bullshit comes flying at you, you've done the right thing. And the reason those people are going to hit you with the bullshit is because you're going to affect their pockets. And it's always the money at the end of the line. And that's what it's all about. Those people that profit from this, bullshit. Sorry, everyone, but it is. And I can't thank you enough. So thank you from me, and thank you from Toki, and from Tillicum as well. I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Ma. And I just wanted to point something out. Having kind of looked under this hood, I pay close attention to power planning and, a lot of things, and lobbyists and whatnot. And, our region, the Northwest, when it comes to the individuals, the staff members, the analysts, the people who do the power planning and work on the dams, they're very diligent, capable people. And I believe they have morals. They are just under a culture, an umbrella where, and this is true in journalism, in all arenas. If you want to keep your job, don't rock the boat. I know this for a fact at this point.
Yeah.
If we want to free that river up and save the southern residents and the salmon right now, we can do it. There is nothing stopping us from that. It is a culture, it is a decision, and it is a very tangled web of politics, elections, development, public-private partnerships, contracts, just a soup of that stuff. And every member of the public is going to need to contact and public representatives, managers, and sit on them to push this thing through, because a 5 to 10 year stay, the southern residents are not going to come out the other end of it. And it's up to us to appeal to these people. And, it stops at the politicians. That's a closed door. You can't get past that fire. You have to bombard it a lot. I mean, I'm saying, after all I've looked at, everyone is going to need to get very pushy, insist that there is no good reason not to breach those dams immediately, because we can do it.
Yeah, yeah. And it is about doing, those people have got to realise that, and I'm sure they will eventually with enough pressure. They've got to realise that it is about doing the right thing, and can they live with themselves to not do the right thing? And it comes down to morals and, you know, realising that the southern residents are going extinct. They're out of time, and the environment's out of time with them. You know, are you going to sit back? What are you going to say to your grandchildren? Did you just sit back and do nothing? And that's what we've got to get over to them.
That's
Correct.
awesome. Thank you, Ma, and thank you, Heather. Marcia?
I just have a sort of a question with the recent Klamath Dam removal, and then how Elwha dams have really come back to life. The river apparently is starting to thrive. Is any of that in the story about now there's precedent and there's like building, precedent to that?
Yeah, we watch the Elwha dam structure get blown up. There's video of that, and we show that in the film. It's not hard to take down a dam. It happened in about 45 seconds. They just blew it up, and water started to run. And then we have somebody, fish biologist that was interviewed, who says that within days they started to see fish going upstream in a river that they've never touched in over almost 100 years. So the fish were returning. The fish know. So yes, of course, that's in the film. And this is a movement worldwide where dams are coming down. So it's I think that will help as well.
Yeah, it sounds like your timing perfect.
Thank you.
Sk'aliCh'elh?
Well, what I want to say is I was talking with the chairwoman of Elwha, Frances Charles, and they shared, their story of bringing the dams down and the salmon returning. This fishing time, they caught enough salmon for their people.
Wow.
That's the first time. And I was really grateful that I could stand on the Klamath as they're reseeding, revegetating, and the tears that came from the Yurok and the other tribal people there to envision that the river is coming back was just beyond. And I looked up at the bright sun, and Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's was there. So it's happening, not as fast as it could, but the tribes are banding together. The tribes do realize that we have an obligation to Mother Earth, to the salmon, to Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's, and it's time.
Awesome. I'm looking at the screen and some of the people on, majority of our audience is on YouTube, but there's some YouTube and Facebook, and I'm just kind of like taken aback by how we're all connected, right, through Toki and her family, and why we're all put here for a reason. I'm just really feeling blessed by the connections, and blessed by the angel in the middle of our screen, coming through to create something that I know that we on the screen can't do without him. And so, John, thank you. I'm hearing about the tribes and just the questions, and talking about not just their, we don't want them to go extinct, but when Ma's talking about our own children and grandchildren, and what are we protecting? Are we protecting? Are we going to say we did enough? And I hope this film just lights a fire, under certain people, that it reaches that 10, 100,000 people that need to hear it to make a difference. And just, we all know how that ripple goes, right? And that's really what this is going to be, a massive wave, not just a ripple. This is going to be huge, John, and I feel it.
I hope so. Listen, I think there is a movement afoot. I mean, the Klamath came down, the Elwha came down. There's dams coming down on the East Coast. There's dams coming down in Europe. And it's not just dams, it's this understanding that mostly young people and maybe natives know that we're in a crisis stage here. You know, either we start listening to Mother Earth or we succumb. We all succumb. The southern residents are going extinct as a canary in a coal mine. You know, the way that we're treating them by choking off their food supply and making them suffer is the way that the planet is suffering. So they're calling out and they're telling us, I think it's not just us, you're going to need to restore the environment, period, wherever you can. We can't just keep taking, you know, we also have to give. And I think, you know, through the people that we got to interview, it becomes very clear. They use terms like climate change, like the food chain has collapsed, or, you know, I think, Raynell, you say in the film that TokiTV did not carry her baby for 17 days for her. It wasn't a message to her Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's. It was a message to the humans. Look what you've done to my baby. You know, you say that. I didn't say that. So if we listen, the voices are there all around us. And I think we have to. I think we're at that level now. I know of other films that are sort of teaching the same message. I think there's one out that's beautiful called The Octopus Teacher, where the octopus sort of teaches how we should be as humans with Mother Nature. There's a film about overfishing in the oceans called Seaspiracy, which is also, you know, these films are not part of the corporate system. If you work for any of the national networks like I have for many years, they will not let you do climate change stories. They will maybe let you nibble around the edges, but they will not let you do a big expose about big oil polluting the oceans, drilling for oil in the world's oceans, because they fund the networks. They advertise for the networks. I was working for PBS for a long time, and you think, well, PBS is public broadcasting, but the Koch brothers were part of the board of directors, and they were not allowing climate change stories or stories about Mother Nature going south. So the only way to do this is the way that we're doing it, you know, where somebody raises money and does it outside the system. So I'm hopeful that that message gets out. And, you know, Toki has changed my life as a result. And Raynell and Howard and all of you and Heather have ruined my life. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome to the soup.
Yeah. That's
Good way.
Hi, you're so welcome, John.
And Ken Balcom.
Yes, Ken did too. I didn't know Ken. Obviously, we revived. Heather had the foresight to do a couple of interviews with him and put him on camera, and then some of the media that he had done in the past. We collected all of that, and Howard was very gracious to give us his library of stuff. So his voice is very prominent. The end of the film, the film is in honor of Ken Balcom, Jim Waddell, and Toki, in memory of those three.
Wow. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Deb Cruz. I know, no, not right now.
I want to say, you know, it was Chris Kevorkian who has been leading the legal rights for the Southern residents who found John. And just thank goodness she did. And I would want to just point out that she and her partner, the Northwest Animal Rights Network, just managed to, the Washington State Democrats Environment and Climate Caucus just adopted a resolution for rights of the Southern residents, and that was her work.
Oh, hey, that's so great.
So congratulations for that initiative. And a lot of people say, well, it's just a piece of paper, doesn't do anything. Well, it's a step, and it sends the message, and we need to take jelly and turn it into concrete. And the other thing that happened this week is the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife issued, for the fourth year in a row, an emergency order for the Southern residents. And Holly Fernbach and her partner, who do the photogrammetry to assess the health, said that in the 17 years they've been doing it, they've never had this many whales in vulnerable condition. And, you know, I looked up the word emergency. This is the 4th year in a row for the emergency order. When was it? Was it 2005 they were listed, ESA listed?
Right.
An emergency is something that is unexpected. You know, I mean, they're going to keep boats a little further away, but let's wake up, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. Heather, thank you for helping John and just for everything that you do. I have so much gratitude in my heart right now. I'm just overflowing with it because, you know, all of you and everyone off the screen, you know, this is just like the best people for this job. And I'm so happy that you're here and that Toki's guiding the way with Ken and Jim. Thank you.
We know Blackfish, and we keep saying this is the next Blackfish in a, you know, a different way. But as far as the impact, what is the name of this film, John? And can we go ahead and share that now?
Yeah, you can share that on the screen. The name of the film will be The Snake and the Whale. The snake, as you see, has a double meaning. It's not just the Snake River. It's all the snakes who keep the dams in place. So it's about the snakes and the southern residents.
That's so awesome.
Wowza.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave that on for just a minute because you guys are going to see this everywhere. And when you see it, you need to share it everywhere.
Gosh.
Can't say how grateful I am to John and to Heather and Raynell and everyone for your emotional support and for whoever contributed the funding for this. And this is really going to take it over the top. I'm really, I can see this having that kind of push. It's gonna sweep the nation. It really is. I can see it coming.
Well, thank you, Howard. Howard opened up his archives, and obviously Ken's voice, photographs, anything and everything that we needed. We sent an email to Howard, and within minutes we had it. You know, so I appreciate that we would not have been able to make the film without you.
Howard, you've been at this for quite some time. You're one of the old pros as well, and you and Ken.
Yeah, really. Well, you know, we made the connection kind of belatedly. I think it was 2016 or so when J28 and her little calf died and were in the prime of life and shouldn't have. And we knew then it was lack of Chinook, and we knew then that the Snake River dams were keeping the Chinook from being able to have access to high mountain habitat, and we knew that the dams had to come down. And I've been dedicated to it ever since.
Powerful.
And I think that these folks who've been at it for so long, one thing that leaps out at me is that everyone out there in Publicsville, the public land, never trust that something's going to happen. Once it does happen, you can let off the pedal. Don't let your guard down.
Not yet.
It's a good point, Heather. The dams are in place and remain in place for really powerful reasons, because people don't want to give them up. And people in positions of power don't want to give them up. People who can make the decision to keep the dam in place. You know, the Army Corps of Engineers, Bonneville Power, and politicians want to keep those dams in place because they're money generators.
Right.
Because their constituents donate a lot to their campaigns and on down the list. So it's our voices against theirs. I actually think it's the Southern residents' voice against theirs. That's how we have oriented this film.
Yeah.
We want people to fall in love with Orca in a way that they haven't. I don't know if there's a film that highlights the fact that Southern residents are starving. So you get to have that choice. Do you want to see these whales go away because they're hungry? They're going away because they're hungry.
Yeah.
not because they're being held captive,
Yeah.
not like blackfish where they're being taken from the sea. They're going away because they're hungry. And it's the most ridiculous reason why they're hungry. Those dams are obsolete. Those dams don't need to be in place. Those dams can go away tomorrow and we wouldn't miss a step. That becomes very obvious in the film. They serve no purpose. So I'm hopeful that that message comes across very powerfully, that it is a corrupt system of lies that has kept them in place today. So, I mean, I know it's a far-fetched idea to think that a politician works in avenues of corruption, but that's kind of what we tried to expose. You know, this is hundreds of millions of dollars that exchange every year, and politicians have made careers. Patty Murray's career is built on those dams.
Yeah. Remember, it's illegal. It is illegal for those whales to be going extinct and for those precious salmon.
And by law, the Environmental Protection Act requires NOAA and the federal government to restore the environment, to restore the ecosystem. By law, wild salmon should be back, not hatcheries, but somehow they've been able to bypass it. So, you know, all of that stuff is exposed. All of that. Thanks to all of you.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It is about money. The captive industry is about money. The dams, you know, and it's a different industry, but it's the same thing. It's still about money, and we're modifying their environment. We talked about that the last time you were on the show. They are captive in a sense. We are modifying their environment for money, and that's humans that are doing that. It's not okay, you know. And we don't want another study. We want the dams gone.
What happens in that too is that people are lied to. The general public is lied to at a very high level. You know, they think if those dams come down, their bills are going to go through the roof, or they think that they're not going to be able to irrigate their fields, or we need those dams for barging, or whatever it is, or that the dams are doing just fine with salmon. That salmon is getting along. That's a lie that's told regularly. That the salmon are thriving. You know, we have power companies who'll tell the public that the dams and fish are getting along. I don't even know what that means, getting along. There's a blockage on the river. I don't understand how that actually happens. Or that if we truck salmon to the ocean, we've solved the riddle. I mean, those are the things that the public is fed, and they don't need to be critical thinkers because this information is coming from their politicians. And so they believe it.
I think it's an easier job to do than we all think. It's a question of being very, very vocal and not letting the foot off the gas. And, you know, the trade groups are very powerful. It's a culture. We need to break through the curtain and not just talk to ourselves. We may need to get out of our comfort zone and start talking to the people who are involved with the decisions and the development that keep these, you know, it's also familiarity. It's laziness to change. I've heard that before. You know, I had the one of the senior power planners in the region in a discussion tell me that with the analysis modeling, you can make the Snake River dams look really valuable or look really not valuable. We just need to get in there and make ourselves clear. There's too many layers in between those who care about the Southern residents and want to do the right thing and those who are in charge. When we need to break through those, they're wearing bulletproof vests. No one's trying to hurt them. Everyone can get what they need. It's just about reaching the right people.
Right.
So who are the right people?
Maybe I should draw up a long list. It's you know, it's the Army Corps, it's Biden, it's Cantwell Murray, it's the Washington State Governor, but there's you know, the Northwest Power and Conservation Council is Bonneville, right to Bonneville.
Bonneville.
We make sure the audience knows who the culprits are. We with no uncertain terms that it's Bonneville, it's the Army Corps, and it's the politicians from the Pacific Northwest who feast off of all the subsidies that come to try and save salmon. You know,
it would also be everyone out there, your utilities. If you're in the Northwest, you are either with a PUD or a co-op or an investor-owned or a municipal. Call them up and say, those dams are uneconomical. They're breaking the public trust, and they're illegally making salmon and orcas go extinct. And I want you to adopt a resolution that you want them breached immediately. I mean, whatever that's connection to your community.
We make the choice a little less complicated. My hope was through the medium of cinema, where you get to watch a show, basically, because this is a show, it's a documentary, but you're watching something that needs to keep your interest without overloading with too many facts. By the end of it, what your choice becomes is whether or not you want to save Sk'aliCh'elh.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Do you want to save the southern residents or not? And there's one option. You either keep the dams in place and let them starve to death and they will go away quickly, or you bring them down. That's the only choice that you have by the end of it. So you get to scream bloody murder that you want to keep those orca in the ocean and help them thrive. And the answer is very clear. And we don't have another side of the story. We don't have a side that says, well, the dams need to be in place because A, B, and C. They don't. Their time has come and gone, and they should have been gone a long time ago. And it's very clear. So I think the rally needs to be for the southern residents, period. What are you going to do to save them? What are you going to do to save them? What are you going to do to keep them on this planet? And whatever you do to save them also restores the environment. And also is a blessing to Mother Nature. So you don't lose here. That's where we are as a people.
Yeah.
We need to speak up for our babies, for their babies.
That's what they're saying, aren't they? That's what they're saying. You've ruined a pretty good system here.
Yeah.
We're getting hungry because of something that you've done. Jim Waddell, the engineer, says that. He said that Orca said to him that you've done something to make the food chain collapse. Orca knows that, Jim says in the film. Orca knows that the humans have done something to the food. And they also know, Jim says, that we can do something about it.
Wow.
Sk'aliCh'elh knows that we have the power to do something about it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Heather sent me a picture. Can I share that? Can I share that drawing, Heather, and tell us about it?
Of course. Yeah. My mother sent me this drawing today. She lives in Quebec, and she's a wonderful artist, extremely talented.
Beautiful.
And what did she said that
She's
please read it. Yes.
So she wrote, I've been trying to draw the young ones, the babies. They are rarely photographed, and they're just showing up in my art to say hello. That's what we have to speak up for, you guys, so that they can have healthy babies and have healthy pregnancies. And I love it. I love it, John, that you said that, we're screaming, we want to save them, but we might be screaming at the wrong people. We need to keep our voices going, guys.
Yeah.
There isn't a person on the planet associated with the dams that fights to keep them in place that is credible.
Right.
In my book, none of them are credible. There is not one reason. Electricity, barging, recreation, irrigation, farming, whatever it is, hatcheries, none of those are credible choices anymore. They're just not. There's only one choice.
Wow.
Yep.
This has been a powerful hour of truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, just talking to you on the show is like, gets everyone fired up. So I can't even imagine how this film's going to go. Let's go around the room. We're past our time. I want to be respectful, John, of your time. But if anyone has anything they want to say, Ma, let's check in with you.
I'm just so excited, and I know that I just feel Toki, and I feel TokiTV, and everything that you've said, I agree with. Yeah, they know we can do something about it. 100%. And I just can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mom.
you, Debbie.
Christina?
Sorry, obviously. I just want to make sure that I'm clear about it because we've been targeting the Biden administration, Cantwell, Murray, and Inslee, and not so much the Army Corps though. So are those the major things, or is it Biden? I mean, because I do a lot of campaigns and I do a lot of going out to, farmers markets and just, I need to make sure that I have the right target.
Yes.
We have Ed Cheney, who is an environmentalist for many years, and we have Jim Waddell saying that if Patty Murray wanted those dams to come down, they would.
Yeah.
So you can target a senator if you want. What's going to happen, our hope is what's going to happen is that people are going to get to know the Southern residents so deeply, so intimately, that whoever is associated with the dams is going to look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the Army Corps necessarily. Certainly the executive branch, the Biden administration, could bring the dams down. The Army Corps could bring the dams down. Patty Murray could bring the dams down. And there will be no reason, if anybody believes what the film has to say, for keeping them in place. So I think the chant to save the Southern residents will overpower any politician who starts to grandstand on the need to keep the dams. Because what they're basically going to say is, it's okay for Orca to go extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think young people who feel for the environment, tribal people who get it, will stand for that. You're going to watch this magnificent group of sentient beings die before your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Patty Murray. Send some more money to hatcheries and let the Southern residents go extinct. That's what it's going to look like.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead, definitely.
This has just been the most reassuring, inspiring, and strengthening stream of truth that I have heard for a long, long time. And
Howard, you fed me this line of crap, so it's all your fault. You and I sat out on your deck overlooking the Salish.
That's right.
Me these stories.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could be a part of it. Because,
You brainwashed me very well.
Okay.
Heather did, and Raynell did, and Annette did. So
you're brainwashing me right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's nice to have it confirmed that what we knew, you also basically have said, yeah, you're right, because we all suspected and we all thought, and now you're saying, yes, guys, what you knew, what you thought you knew was correct. So thank you again.
I can't wait for this film. Briefly, Marcia, anything you want to say before we close?
Just a couple things. Gratitude to everybody involved in this. You guys are amazing, and I can't wait to see this. Sorry, my dog decides to bark right now. The other thing I wanted to say is that Toki picks, it's going to sound like a funny rhyme, but Toki picks passionate people, and she pulls those people in. She doesn't pick ones that aren't passionate. She doesn't go, maybe. Only those that have that spirit and that spark like I'm seeing right now on you guys. Those are the ones, that she lets Howard brainwash and all of that. So I'm just really happy that you guys are involved in this, and I cannot wait to see it come out. I'm just going to be so excited. So thank you.
She places that spark in people. Thanks for saying that, Marcia. Thanks for saying that. Stephanie?
Yeah, same. Gratitude. Thank you so much. And I think this is going to be so good at letting people know. I mean, it's amazing how many people in the Pacific Northwest don't even know what's going on. Seriously. Even a couple of weeks ago when I was out on San Juan Island, people are they have no idea. And then when you tell them, it's like, oh my God, it's like, this is so awesome. Thank you so much.
It's going to be great. Raynell?
Well, I think that I agree with a lot of what everybody has said, but I always go back to our ancestors and Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's, her legacy to save her family and her outreach to people like John, like Heather, and all of you on the screen, and many that are just listening in. It's going to take all of us to make it happen. And John reminds me of the last real tough discussion I had with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's, is I was all happy and she was not. She just kept saying, speak louder, speak louder. That was her only message to me. And John and Heather are saying the same thing. So I hear you. I love you. I hear you.
That's so awesome. So many people out there making a difference. I do want to show, because these three are hanging out and not here because they're out making a difference too. But John, they say they love John Carlos Frey and sent me a picture. So there's Deborah and Deborah. Thanks, guys.
Well, Deborah made it into the film wearing an orca suit, so
Yay!
I'm happy about that.
Right.
That's awesome.
Oh, gosh.
Heather, John, thank you. Deb Cruz, I do want to kind of end with you and see what you would like to add.
Can I say one quick thing?
Of course.
Thank you. Sorry to be a hog here. I can see that I have a friend in the audience who lives in the San Juan Islands, and she is a powerful woman and was instrumental in getting our utility out there, Orcas Power and Light, that we own because it's a co-op, to rescind the pro-dam resolution that they signed a few years ago. And she's just a model person for putting herself forward. Remember, this is a lot of volunteering, a lot of onus is being put on us when it really needn't be. And secondly, I also want to point out that this is not about environmentalists versus industry. We can have everything. It's not about a choice. We just need to plan better. And I just want to thank all of you. And John, you have really stepped up. So so much gratitude. You are an amazing person and very good at what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, guys, keep your eyes out for the snake and the whale. Oh, look, Raynell stayed on the screen. I'll show you.
I think I got in the way of Deb, though. You wanted...
But yeah, keep your eye out. And then, John, you'll let us know, right? Like a little
Right away. As soon as we have some information about where you can see it or when it's going to be released or any of that kind of stuff, because we're going to have to get the word out. So
very, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I want to end. Do you want to explain the quote that I'm going to have on the screen as well?
yeah, I mean, this is our attitude for the whole film. It's the quote that opens the film, and it's basically how we treat Toki's family is how we treat each other and how we treat the planet. So the way that we deal with Mother Earth is the way that we deal with our relations everywhere. So this is the quote by Gandhi that opens the film.
That's really, really great. I'm going to end with that quote, and I'm also going to play Shirley Bob's song to end the show. The song is a song she used to sing to Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's, and it's "Look at Me." It's a song from Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's to others. So look at me. This is who I am. So we're going to end with that. I love all of you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Tia